Let's do it live on a First Friday edition of the program. All right, did you get it sorted out? You better? Your connection better?
No.
Your mic's on, so we have that, which is good. Can you hear me?
All I hear is like static electricity.
Static electricity. Not great. You want to try this one?
Here, just go with that. I'm fine.
This is good? This will work? This will win? It's been a week, brother.
Yeah.
Did you have a fresh dome? Usually you fresh dome it on Monday.
Yeah, I did it yesterday after our great trip down to University Hospitals, and so got myself ready because I like to have it a couple days of growth before I'm on the camera. So Thursday we tape a little bit for Sunday, and then Sunday we'll be ready to go. So.
This is different from your normal pattern. The pattern was always Sunday or Monday morning, right?
That was more in the preseason, though.
You'd hit this and this.
Yeah, this is all done all together. That's right.
Yeah, I knew it was a one-time shot. You want to do it once.
Yeah. I feel like Tuesday feels like a good day.
Do we have Stefanski? Okay. Well, I guess Stefanski's at the podium. Oh, fantastic. There you go.
AFC opponent. Both
you guys are down.
Understand what's at stake and really understanding who this team is that we're facing, because week in and week out it changes. The personnel changes, the scheme changes week to week. So really diving in right now on this Chargers team. They're well coached. Very similar. We're similar. They're similar. Obviously, to last year. There's some new faces in there on both sides. So you do have the tape from last season when we played them early. A lot of games in between for both sides to look at as well. I think what you start with their defense, some really good players. Number one, Khalil Mack, who I've gone against quite a bit when I was at the Vikings and he was in Chicago. Very, very powerful football player. We played against him last season when he was here with the Bears. In the back end, just Derwin James can show up anywhere. Can be the post safety, can be a half-field safety, can play linebacker, can play nickel. You really have to know where he is, and then he's just an active football player. I think he had 16 tackles versus us last season. So really good football player. Multiple fronts, multiple coverages, impressive group. Offensively, number one pass offense. So that gets your attention right away. Very good quarterback, as we all know. Good young quarterback. Accurate, strong arm, makes great decisions. Athletic, still moving around really well, despite the injury, but you really don't see that affecting his play. Weapons on the perimeter, a really good running back who can hurt you in a bunch of different ways, a good tight end, so it's an impressive group across the board, sound special teams. So really getting to know this team right now, diving in, understanding some of the adjustments that we're going to make on offense, defense, special teams in this game, putting together a plan so guys can go play fast on Sunday. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Go today?
Yeah, he'll be out there. We'll see how it goes, but he'll be out there.
Kevin, your defense has been pretty good through the first three quarters of games this year. In the fourth quarter, it's the worst in the NFL by a bunch of different metrics. What do you make of that? What's happening there?
Yeah, obviously you're trying to play 4 quarters of football, offense, defense, special teams, and unfortunately we've had some issues in the fourth quarter that have led to points. And think back to week 1, think back to week 2, where we unfortunately gave up big plays that really can't happen and shouldn't happen. I think we've gone a long way in working on those type of things. So I think we just got to continue to play sound football, get lined up, number one, and play the defense that's executed.
What happened to the run defense in the second half in Atlanta?
Yeah, I thought, prior to that long drive, it was keeping them in check. And I want to give them credit. Obviously, that's a good run offense. So prior to that, doing a nice job. They got theirs, which is going to happen. But it's always a combination of things. It's always one guy here, one guy there. We could always, you always question, could I have put him in a better position on the play call? All those things. So there's not one answer to that.
On the practice field today, and what can he bring if he can play?
Yeah, good to have Miles. Just even in the walkthrough, Mary Kay, just having his presence and having him in the meetings, and he's a big part of what we do. So good to have him back out there. And then I haven't seen him practice yet. He's worked out, obviously off to the side, so I get to watch him practice today and then get a good feel for where he is.
Do you think he's going to practice this week?
I hope so.
Greedy Williams, we see he's coming back.
Do you think he could play on Sunday?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the first step, Jeff, in getting him out there to practice. And then he's doing great. He's been doing a great job off to the side in his rehab. So get him into practice, get him some plays here, and see how he responds.
Go back to Jake talking about the fourth quarter. Could it be that you had some guys out there that aren't used to playing 30, 40, 50 snaps on that D-line? They, not a condition. Play a lot of reps.
Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously when a team goes on a long drive, you're tired on defense, they're tired on offense. So it's one of those things. We understood that guys were going to have to step up and play a little bit more than they're used to, but that's just part of the game.
Back to Herbert, do you see a big change from him last year to this year just as he evolves?
I think he's evolving. He's getting better. I mean, I think young players just get better with more and more reps. I see a young man who sees it very clearly, big, can see it from the pocket, and just can drive every throw, can throw with anticipation and touch. They do a really nice job schematically in getting the ball out of his hands. He doesn't take sacks. And then moving him on the pocket, max protecting, takes some shots to some, Mike Williams, as we know, is a very, very good wide receiver. And across the board, Keenan Allen, the tight end. It's a really impressive group.
We've talked obviously about the breakdowns that have happened in the fourth quarter. Do you think focus has anything to do with it, being able to maintain the necessary focus for all four quarters?
I mean, it's definitely an important part of this game is playing 60 minutes. I think that's probably goes without saying. I think for us, what we try to do always is letting our team know that you have to lock in for 60 minutes. It's a prerequisite when you're playing NFL football because you just don't know when that play that's going to turn the tide is going to occur. So locking in for 60 minutes is always going to be an important part of this game.
Kevin, when we talked to you on Monday, you said that the breakdown on that long pass was a technique error. And we've heard about communication in the first two games. So which of those is one of those easier to correct than the other?
Yeah. I would tell you, Jeff, obviously when you're playing good defense, everybody's on the same page. So that's number one. And then with technique, in the run defense, if you're out of your gap, the ball can get in that gap and you got to tackle them for maybe a 5-yard gain, 10-yard gain, what it might be. Same thing, pass defense, when you're out of your position, so to speak, which happens. The game happens fast. If you're out of position, those big passes can turn into big plays, and that's kind of what we saw there last week.
Are there certain benchmarks you're looking at for both Miles and Jadeveon and what they, as they progress through this week for them to be able to play?
Yeah, I think they're both on two different progressions, and we'll treat them as such. See how Miles looks today, and then obviously just kind of wait and see with Jadeveon.
When you talk about Khalil, do you see him trying to take on a bigger role with Bosa not being in there? It looked like he had a big game. What is last game?
I don't know that he's taken on a bigger role. He's a great player. He's very, very powerful, has unbelievable bend, plays hard, very, very good at rushing the passer, as we all know, has multiple moves. In the run game, can win at the point of attack, can win as a chase player. So he's a big part of their defense, Scott, but he was from day one when he got there. Obviously, I know Joey Bosa is out on IR, but Khalil Mack's a great player.
Greg Delpit was talking about how the defense needs more of a killer mentality in the fourth quarter. Does that just have to come from the players? Is there virtually nothing the coaching staff can do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Marla, it just goes back to playing a 60-minute game. You do have to lock in for those 60 minutes. So whether you call it a killer mentality or a finishing mentality or whatever it is, I think it's important that offense, defense, and special teams has that mentality because that's what's required in the NFL. We all have seen examples in our season and multiple people's seasons where you got to play a 60-minute game.
The fact that with Justin Herbert, he recognizes those mistakes so quickly that you can get torched for a big play if there's a breakdown in the secondary. I guess, do you feel like these guys are more locked in and aware of that, and especially considering you did play him last year?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think part of when you're playing this team, the Chargers, they go fast, and then they go fast to get lined up, and then they have multiple shifts in motion. So getting aligned is really important. And, it's doubly important when you're at home in our building, which is really, really loud when we're on defense. So all that nonverbal communication at home is really important.
Would you say that even some of Miles in the game and maybe even some of Jadeveon, if they could only play a certain percentage of the snaps, would be a lot better than nothing?
I think that's fair to say, yes.
Let's go over what those guys mean to the run defense. I mean, the way they set the edge, just as you said before, their presence out there alone.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what we're talking about with Khalil Mack. When you have, I think every coach wants great players out there, and you're always asking the general manager, hey, give me more great players, makes you a better coach. But with those two players in particular, they're both really physical football players, and I think it shows up in the run and in the pass. I think, when you're playing run defense and you're knocking people back and you're setting the edge, and sometimes you're setting the edge so that someone else can make the play. So I think both of those guys are adept at that. Good. Okay. Thanks, guys.
You're up.
All right, Coach Stefanski at the podium there as we kick off the show on a First Friday. Bernie's going to join us in the 2 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
Right at 2 o'clock. You have that to look forward to, which is nice.
It's glorious.
Oh, sure. We have some roster news we'll get to as well here on the program. As we go along, we'll turn the page on to the Chargers this week. We will meet the Chargers, do a little better or worse. Poisel in studio with us for that. You have that to look forward to, which is very nice. How you doing here on this first Friday? It's 70 degrees and sunny out there.
It's beautiful. I wish we were outdoors chasing the small ball around, to be honest with you.
There's a window.
That would be good.
There's a window, like 3:22 tea time,
well,
where
I'd have to really zip it. 3:22.
3:22?
Maybe a
3:30?
Maybe
3:30?
A 3:50.
3:50.
It takes about 40 minutes to get to Walden from here.
All right. Yeah, you can feel it. I told I just texted the blonde. I said, let's get the kids in the pool. This is it.
Yes.
Today, tomorrow.
Enjoy
I think this could be the end of it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting until November to close up shop.
I think that's smart. I think that's fair.
Yeah. You're hoping. Just want to see what we're looking at here over the next few days.
It's about to drop to the 50s.
50s, lows in the 40s on Friday and Saturday. That's a brutal spot. That's a brutal spot, Coach. Now, there's a 70 out there somewhere next week sometime, but these are going to be the two best probably. If it's rainy and cold Friday night, that is brutal. If that's high school football Friday night.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, we're rain and we're 50. That ain't going to get it done, brother. All right, we'll have some fun here on the program today on your First Friday Miracle Edition. Some thoughts on what Coach Stefanski had to say. Also take a look at some of the roster developments that are happening here, including the return of Greedy Williams. So you have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Bone, is the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today. BarkingBackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. A couple of roster developments here. We have designated Greedy Williams from the injured list. Additionally, the team signed Richard LeCount to the practice squad. Greedy, of course, we know him very, very well. The issue with him, it's not production, it's just health. And he just hasn't spent much of his career as healthy as he ought to be. But this will give a nice boost. He's a hell of a player when he's in a good spot.
No doubt. And he's a guy that comes back now to your corner room. You feel really good about the top 5 corners in that room. You're down, obviously, Rich LeCount, and I think that it's nice for Rich that he gets the opportunity to come back here, but he's got to really lock in if he wants to make something of his career here in the National Football League.
Yeah.
But getting Greedy back in a contract year, you drafted MJ Emerson probably as a succession plan. He's been great. We'll see where Greedy fits in, but it's nice to know that we're going into this game with the Chargers this year in a completely different position than we did a year ago, where we were basically like, we almost pulled you out of the stands to go play corner in that game against the Chargers. Yeah, which would have been tough. It would have been a tough scene for you against Mike Williams. But
I don't have the quickness I used to have.
It's just good depth to have, and Greedy Williams is obviously a very, very good football player. Last year, 10 pass breakups. He actually was our highest graded corner at Pro Football Focus, lowest rating targeted of our top 3 guys last year. So he was a top 30 graded quarterback. All 3 of our guys last year were top 30. So getting him back is good. And, he's got size, he's got length, he's got speed. He's somebody that matches up with Mike Williams, for example, very well this week. But we'll see what the plans are, how he's integrated, because right now, our corners are pretty good.
Yeah, they sure are. And just from that standpoint, we ought to come in on that side of the ball ready to go.
Yeah.
Feels like, if you read between the lines on what Coach had to say there in the presser, Miles feels like that's a go. Clowney could be a go. So you could, and you'll need it, because this is far and away, we'll meet him in a second, this is far and away the most talented team we've played. It's one of the 3 most talented teams in the NFL. I know they're down Joey Bosa, and he's done for a while. But you look at their roster, you look at their offensive skill talent, it's stunning.
This is the number 1 passing offense in the NFL. They're number 1 in yards after the catch in the NFL. They hit you with more big plays than anybody in the NFL. I mean, this is an elite offense of great consequence. The one thing they don't do is run the football. They really don't even seem to care about running the football. Doesn't even appear really right now to be on their radar. But they are throwing for over 300 yards per game. They are dead last in the NFL in rushing. They are number 1 in passing.
Yeah.
But Austin Eckler is a very formidable receiving back. I think he's 3rd in the NFL in receptions right now, and he's a guy that they throw it to a lot. He's got 235 yards after the catch just as a receiver in 4 games. He's a running back.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, they're a fun team. They are
super fun.
When you see them come in. And they are one of the reasons that you do the Deshaun Watson deal, because there's a path to beating a team like that, and you have to have the weaponry to do it.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going into it's a knife to a gunfight situation. Yep. And so that's why the Watson deal happens. That's why you're in the position that you're in, because there are these guys in the AFC that are just supreme, and this kid Herbert is one of them. I would never have thought that he would be this good this quick.
Oh,
and who would have though?
Modes.
That's
nailed
it.
Modes nailed that one. Yeah, he was the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has been just so good this year already. 1,250 yards passing, 312.5 a game. He's got 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, quarterback rating of 102.2. Now, they are 2-0 in the games he did not throw a pick. They are 0-2 in the games that he has thrown a pick. But this is a guy who's coming off his best game of the year. Remember, he's doing this with fractured rib cartilage, which was suffered week 2 against Kansas City. Last week, though, 70% completions, 340 yards, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, no picks in the win over Houston. He's really, really good. And by the way, he's putting up those numbers without Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen played part of week 1, had 4 catches, went out with an injury, has not returned. And Keenan Allen, since he's been a player of consequence, 2017, he's made 5 straight Pro Bowls. He's 2nd in the NFL in catches, only to Devontae Adams. He's number 1 in the NFL in 3rd down receptions and 3rd down receptions that become first downs. He's a stud, and they have not had him. So the fact that he is doing this is the way that he is incredible and banged up.
Yeah, he's out as left tackle too.
But he doesn't get sacked. They've only given up 4 sacks this year, fewest in the league.
No, he's something really special. We'll meet them in a second. I want to go over a couple of things with you from the sports world last night.
Okay.
When did you become aware of the judge thing, and what is your give a damn level on that?
I was aware there was like 1,000 push notifications. Like it was the biggest thing ever. Like, I don't get it.
It's a Yankee record.
So?
That's my point. So?
It's not McGuire. It's not Bonds. It's not Sosa.
No, I know. So, I think it was...
It's the most in the American League ever.
Okay, but they don't even play American League only schedule anymore.
Yeah, well,
it's balanced. So what do you care? Why are we even differentiating?
Because he's a Yankee. What he's doing is incredible, right? He's going to win
not
the Triple Crown.
minimizing it. I'm just saying,
no.
like I've seen a lot of people say, including I think Tom Verducci wrote about this morning, which shocked me that this is it's the real home run. Oh, give me a break, man.
The pitchers were juicing too. They were throwing faster. They were doing more stuff that made it even harder to hit them.
Nobody talks about the ball either. You got to remember, Major League Baseball in the late '90s is coming out of a season in 1994 where they locked out the players and did not play the World Series.
Yeah.
There was a lot of damage coming out of that.
Yeah.
And 98 went a long way in bringing it back that summer. And everybody was in on it. We were all in on it as fans. Media was in on it, covering it. There are people who are critical of that era now who wrote glowing books about the era in the time. The commissioners, everyone was in on the game. It was all part of it. And I love that point you just made of the pitchers were on it too. Like, of course they were. Dude, the ball was probably a little hopped up. Like a lot of these things happen.
Still, you got to hit a pitched ball.
I agree.
Which is not easy.
Yeah. I saw Ravel tweeted this morning that the ball's worth $2 million. I'm like, I don't understand that.
Why?
Wouldn't I would think if any ball is worth $2 million, it's the last home run he hits of the year.
Ravel says no. That is not true. I'm with you. But
so then what you're saying is that in the McGuire, all right, let's use McGuire as the example because this is the one we all lived through, or most of us did. Can't believe it's been that long ago now. But you're telling me that the 62 ball for McGuire is worth more than the 70?
No, because that ended up being the record. Like this
will end up being the record. It will be the American League record.
Yeah, but so what?
No, I agree, but so what's his point?
The Maris, the Yankee one, it's the one that broke that.
I think that's nonsense.
I agree with you. The only thing I was interested in is the one guy who was like, you know what? I'm just jumping down in the bullpen hoping this ball ends up on the ground. That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
That's pretty good. It's
and
good
then
strategy.
the one guy caught it, and they're like whisking him away with security. Like he's like, I mean, if it's worth $2 million, I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, I was floored by that.
Suppose that guy works for some huge hedge fund.
Of course. Would be nice if he could have. To me, I think the last one he hits the one that's going to matter the most. Yeah. We do have. Speaking of baseball, we do have pitch times for the Guardies in the AL Wild Card Series. So Game 1 will be a nooner. I can't believe we got a nooner here Friday. Game 2 Saturday would be a nooner as well, and then Sunday, if necessary, would be 4:07. So the Guardies being done a little wrong there with a noon start on a Friday. That's not great.
People knew that was coming, though. I wonder why.
I don't know. I guess the television windows, I suppose, is the reason. To me, like if you play 162 games and you make the wild card, play it at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like play them at 7 o'clock. All season it's been that way.
Yeah.
Other than the weekends, to randomly play a Friday game at 12:07 seems absolutely ridiculous. The other thing I wanted to, because it went viral last night a little bit, the way that the Judge thing did, got the boys to bed, was seeing what I missed over the course of football practice and dinner and getting them to bed. Did I miss anything? Which is probably more of a me problem than anything else. And I see all of this about this Wembanyama. So you know who this kid is? All right. Victor Wembanyama is the presumptive number 1 pick in next year's NBA draft. Okay.
Yeah, and he said some other guy would be the first pick if he wasn't born.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a good line.
So he's the reason that you remember Windhorst. What's going on in Utah?
Yeah,
this kid's the reason.
Gotcha.
The reason that the Spurs traded Dejounte Murray. All of this, those teams are positioning themselves to draft this dude number 1 overall. This French kid, Victor Wembanyama, which is a great name.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, he must be a unicorn in order for there to be this much attention on a kid who's 17, 18 years old. So apparently last night he played the G League Unite. Okay. There's a kid on the other team who's going to go second, this Scoot Henderson or something like that. That's not the point of the story. Okay. I find it. I turn it on. Wembanyama is 7'5".
Okay.
And he's a guard.
Okay. But is he fast?
Doesn't need to be. You can take 4 steps. He takes 1. He hits 7 threes.
Okay.
So it's like if Durant were 6 inches taller.
So is he like what Porzingis is supposed to be?
he looks his body type. So this would be the red flag for me because 7'5". There's not a whole lot of list of those guys who remain healthy historically.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to Samson, Rob Samson back in the 80s. It's just really, really hard.
Twin Towers,
absolutely. He's 7'5" and he shoots it from 25 feet. He looks like he's not of this planet.
That's crazy. Yeah, he looks like
he's like the
I
same
saw the
height
picture
as Yao
of him.
Ming.
Yeah, playing guard.
Except he plays guard. It's crazy.
So do you think who's he going to guard? That's my question.
Just kind of stand, I think. He can. I mean, so he closed out on like a 3.
Yeah, blocked it with
and
his
he's
elbow.
so tall that he gets out there. Yeah, it's fascinating. And you always think back to just it's really just so hard for those guys ultra tall to stay healthy. But it also reminded me of how old we are because we're of an age that if you're ever tall, go on the block, do a power dribble, and do post moves.
Yeah,
we used to do that in practice. Remember, like the bigs would have to go and do post moves while we did all this fun stuff.
We did all the fun, yeah.
And they were down
drop step,
doing all that
fake.
stuff,
Yeah.
doing all that. Now these kids don't do that. Everything's face up, so they don't do.
They Sigma. That was called the Sigma.
Sigma drill.
Yeah, Sigma.
Loved a good Sigma drill.
Yeah. Reverse pivot, face up, and then.
And away you go.
Away you go.
Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Coming up next, we will beat your LA Chargers. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Bo here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors, offering high-performance products that are durable, long-lasting, cost and energy-saving. They'll transform the look and efficiency of your home. It's a win-win. Don't go into winter with concerns about your roof. With Renew Home Exteriors, get a new roof installed in 7 to 10 days for no money down and payments as low as $96 a month. Plus, receive free gutter guards with your new roof purchase. Beautify your home with premium siding, roofing products at lower prices with Renew Home Exteriors. Visit RenewEstimate.com for more. And now time to meet the Los Angeles Chargers. 2-2 on the season as they come in. Local guy Brandon Staley leading that team in his second year, my friend.
Yeah, and this is a very good football team.
Are you on? I don't think you're on.
No, this is a good football team. Yeah. All right, good. This is a good football team. This is a fun football team. This team has 8 guys who were in the NFL's top 100 a year ago.
Feels about right.
That's the most in the NFL. We won't see all of them because no Joey Bosa, no Rashawn Slater, so we'll only be seeing 6 of them. But they're still a very good team. They won 34-24 last week. Their losses to the Kansas City Chiefs and then a shocking blowout loss at home to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 38-10. The Chargers, 13-0 all-time against the Cleveland Browns when they score 25 or more points.
Jeez.
They lead the series 18-9-1 the last time we played last year, 47-42. Also in Week 5 in L.A. By the way, that was the highest scoring game in the NFL last year, 89 combined points.
Lions have done that like 4 times this year already.
Yeah, the Lions are like, whatever, we laugh at you. Last year for them against us, Herbert, 389, 4 touchdowns passing, ran for a touchdown. Eckler, 66 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, 5 for 53 and a touchdown receiving. Mike Williams had 165 and 2 touchdowns on a couple of those pesky blown coverages right there. This is, again, an excellent offensive football team. They are the number 1 passing offense in the NFL. They have given up the fewest number of sacks in the entire NFL, only 4. The Browns, by the way, second in that with 5. They are aggressive. They have 5 fourth-down conversions already. And if you go back to that game a year ago, remember they went for it like on their own 20 to start the second half. Yep. And then they went for it twice on that drive and got it. Herbert ran in the touchdown actually right there. And so this is just a darn good offensive football team. That's the bottom line. They are excellent. Now, defensively, they've got a lot of good names, but they have not necessarily been a great defensive football team. And, in fact, they are an awful, awful run defense. And so what do I mean by that? Well, let's get into some advanced metrics, shall we?
I like a metric.
What is their Achilles heel as a run defense so far this year? Well, they are allowing 7.5 yards per carry outside the tackles. That is, 7.9 yards per carry on rushes outside the tackles. That is dead last in the NFL. Where are the Browns at their best? Rushing outside the tackles. That's right. They are doing that as well as anybody in the NFL. Nick Chubb right now, 85.8% of his total rush yards in 2022 have come outside the tackle. So we've got a team that runs the ball outside better than anybody in the league against a defense that struggles to stop the outside run more than anybody in the league. This is similar to when we talked about that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers where they were struggling on the outside, especially with the loss of T.J. Watt. That's where this team struggles. I think we're going to have an opportunity to gash them. Last year, by the way, when we played them, Week 5, outside the tackles, we ran for 209 yards alone. So this is obviously a very good matchup for us running the football. But defensively, they've got some stars, folks. They've got some stars, and it's a new-look defense. You talk about their starters up front in their 3 down linemen, 2 new defensive starters. Their ends or their rushers, both new starters, Khalil Mack and Bosa. With Bosa out, it's Khalil Mack and Kyle Van Noy, who had a few good years with the Patriots. They've got maybe the best corner tandem, or one of them in the league, Asante Samuel Jr. in his second season after a great rookie year, and then they brought in J.C. Jackson, who just leads the NFL in interceptions since he's been in the league. They brought in Bryce Callahan as well to play the slot, a veteran slot corner there in his 8th season. And then on the back end, in the safeties, Nasir Adderley, who's been very good for them, and then Derwin James, Pro Bowler a year ago, and just an absolute stud who can blitz, he can cover, he can play the run, he is a very disruptive and a very, very good defense player. Now, they have given up 27 a game, 3rd most in the NFL, so the Browns have got to be very good in situations where they can score the football. That's where I think is going to be the key for them in this game. We saw it last week. You struggle in the red zone, you struggle near the goal line, you're going to struggle to win football games, and that is especially true against this team.
You know, it's interesting. when you look at them, and they've had their fair share of injuries, it's really stupefying the way they got drilled at home by Jacksonville.
It's wild how they got drilled by Jacksonville.
I know weird things happen in this league, but at the time of that, they're coming off of it's the heartbreak on Thursday night against the Chiefs. They got 10 days.
He's really banged up. Their Pro Bowl center and All-Pro center, Corey Linsley, didn't play that week.
Yeah.
Slater goes out in the middle of that game. But they were already getting boat raced. It was the defense.
10, though.
And they were being boat raced right out of the gate. Their defense was just – it struggled. Bosa went out in the middle of that game. I do think we can dictate to this football team when we have the ball. I think the formula is going to be very similar to last week. Possess the football, keep them on the sidelines.
Brother, that's our formula always. Right now it is a little bit. I mean, with this incarnation, I think that's it's that. I mean, that's why we're right at that 35, 34 total touches Chubb Hunt every week because
but we're
that's
possessing
what
the
we're
ball for 35 minutes. That is absurd. Like the fact that we ever possess the ball on average 35 minutes a game and we're 2-2 is a ridiculous outcome. We need to be better than that. We should be better than that, quite frankly. We have not been better than that. As we know, we are what our record is. But this is a team that we should be able to physically dominate up front. We should be able to run the ball on them. Now, they cover well. That's going to be the interesting thing. This is a decent, very good secondary. Now, without Bosa, maybe they're not quite as good. But you saw even last week, Dameon Pierce had that 75-yard touchdown run against them. That's where I think we're going to have to do our damage, keep Herbert on the sidelines, and then we cannot give up the big plays. If they want to check it down to Austin Eckler, he can have his 6 yards a catch, fine. But we cannot let Mike Williams, who leads the league in receptions of more than 40 yards over the last year and a half, we cannot let him get deep like he did against us in that first game.
No, not at all. It's so last week, boy, would you have had this in their win over Houston without looking? Can you? What's your best guess on how many times Houston ran the ball against the Chargers?
Well, that was Dameon Pierce, and he's the only one who carried the ball. I know
that never happens.
That doesn't happen anymore. I want to say he was like 24 for like 116 and a touchdown.
That'd make you feel good if it was 24. It was only 14.
Oh.
14 carries, 131. You had the 75-yarder.
And a touchdown.
And the touch. But only 14 times. Now
they were
behind.
Can't extend drives, and Davis Mills is terrible.
Yeah, he is. But so that's interesting because I was trying to think when you think about kind of probably the model for us beating them is actually Jacksonville. They drilled them, they bullied them. They ran it 36 times for 151 with Robinson.
And that's what we're going to do.
And so that's it. That's your number. You think about that. We do that every week in over-unders. Like you're at that 35.5, 34.5 number for Chubb and Hunt. That is it. That's the recipe here. Because anything else, it ain't going to work. I think it's going to be, one of the things, it's obviously been a hot topic of conversation this week in this effort of, inside the 5, go for 3, go for 6. It does feel like with this, against this group, you need 7s.
Yeah, you knew. And I think we'll be aggressive in that respect again this year, which I know if it doesn't work out, people are going to be all up in arms. But I completely agree that you are going to need to have those. I think that's that's a fact. That's a fact. You are going to have those.
It's amazing how disinterested they are in running the football. You just pull up, what happens for them week to week.
Eckler had like 60 yards last week, and that was, I think, more than he had in like the first 3 games combined. I mean, it's been crazy.
Yeah, they win their opener. They beat the Raiders in the opener, and Eckler was 14 carries, 36. They did try in the opener. It was they tried 31 times to run the ball. They had 76 yards against the Raiders in the opener. And then from that point on, they just have not been interested in doing so. And it's one of those things with Staley. I think, he looks out there and he sees this Herbert dude who can put it anywhere, and you're like, let him live.
It's more, look, I always go back to it. If you have a guy like that, right, for us, it's a different ball game. But when you have a guy like that, the truth of the matter is you are going to average more yards per pass than you are going to average yards per run. You're just going to. So, yes, it is important in some way, shape, or form to go ahead and make sure that you do have the run, the physicality, wearing somebody down. But when you have the luxury of this guy, you go ahead and you throw the ball. No doubt.
I mean, they had, in the loss to Kansas City, this is a great game. We all remember it. It was the opener of the Amazon season. In that game, they ran it 24 times for 75, and Herbert threw it 48.
Yeah.
It's a lot of plays, Coach.
It is, and some of them they would argue, and when you watch them, justifiably so, that some of these pass plays are actually extensions of the run game. They're long
for sure.
So it's just about getting the ball to, Eckler in a place that they think is advantageous for him. Now, they have not run it well, as we've talked about, but you think about how much they are throwing it. The fact that they've only given up, the 4 sacks on the season is kind of amazing. And they're doing it, by the way. They're doing it, by the way, with – so Corey Linsley's a Pro Bowler, All-Pro. He's the center. He was a huge free agent signing for them in 2021.
Buckeye.
Former Buckeye, that's right. Former 5th-round pick in 2014. Then they've got Matt Filer, who was a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers for a while, but kind of a journeyman and certainly wasn't part of any of their good lines.
Yeah.
He's at left guard. He's been the weak link. He's given up a team-high 15 pressures and 1 sack. Your left tackle with Slater out is Jamari Salyer.
Yeah.
Their 6th-round pick this year out of Georgia. Last week didn't allow a pressure in his first start against Houston. Well, it's going to be very different this week.
This will be – yeah, it will be. You ought to be able to eat there.
Yes. Then their right guard is Zion Johnson, their 1st-round pick out of Boston College this year. Their right tackle is Trey Pipkins, a former 3rd-round pick, and this is his first year as a starter. So they never thought he was good enough to start prior to this season. So it's not like this is a line of great consequence or incredibly formidable. No. The Browns should be able to do some things up front and disrupt this passing attack.
There are a couple of things we do really well when healthy, and even in our current incarnation, that should come home to roost this week. Number one, Miles and Clowney ought to be able to get home. Now, I know Herbert gets it out quick, but at least you can force him to get it out quick. And what does that do? Well, it doesn't let Mike Williams run 42 yards downfield and hit you over the top. So that's beneficial. Those two should be able to get home in this game on Sunday. The other thing, we can run it better than anybody.
Better than anybody.
So those two things should be complementary for this Chargers team. The difference between them and everybody else we played is the stuff they do good. We haven't seen anything like it.
Totally. That's right. We have not seen – I mean – go
through the quarterbacks we've played.
You put up a highlight tape of the quarterbacks we played in the first 4 weeks, and they will not, in all of the games they played this year, have as many good throws as Justin Herbert by himself.
No. Good grief, no. So this is a totally different animal offensively, and so there are some things that are advantageous to us, but they also have a hell of an answer. And from their perspective, I assure you this, I wanted to get into this with you in a second in terms of the Charger fans out there, but if there are any, their next 4, it's us, Broncos at home, Seahawks at home, at Falcons.
Right. So
they would look at that and go 4-0.
They want to go 3-1. I mean, you'd be realistic.
They'll be favored in all of them.
All 4, they will be favored as they are against us.
What is it, 1.5?
Is it down to 1.5? I haven't looked because I'm not looking because we have to guess the lines.
Guess the lines tomorrow. Yeah, we got that tomorrow, so we won't. All right, so we'll wait on that for tomorrow.
It was 3.
Okay. Yeah. But they will be favored in every one of those games.
How about this for just some random fun facts about this offense? Mike Williams has 100 yards or more receiving in 4 straight games on the road.
Jeez.
That's one of the longest streaks in NFL history. It's tied for 8th longest. 6 games is the record, by the way, Calvin Johnson. So one more, he'll get him to 5, which would be tied for the 5th longest. He's got 10 pass plays of more than 40 yards since 2021, as I mentioned, most in the NFL. How about this with Justin Herbert? If he gets 300 yards against the Browns, it will be his 20th career game with 300 or more yards passing, which would be the most ever in somebody's first 3 seasons. And we're in week 5 of his 3rd season. Wow. Andrew Luck was the previous record holder with 19. It would be his 8th straight game of 300-plus on the road, which would tie Rich Gannon for the most in NFL history when he was the MVP of the league
straight?
On the road with 300-plus. If he throws for 300. So he's at 7 now, which would tie Rich Gannon, who was the MVP of the league the last time this happened, 2001, 2002, for most in NFL history.
I mean, I'm just trying to think, how many 300-yard passing games have we had in the last few years?
The last 300-yard passing game we had as a team was Week 5, 2021, against the Chargers.
The Chargers, that's it. Good job. How about that? Good job out of you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. 8 of them. So you were out there a year ago.
Yeah.
It was a Browns crowd, right?
Very much.
So this is a franchise. They can't get a stadium done in San Diego, can't get public funding. It was an ownership group in the Spanos family that aren't liquid enough to do it on their own.
Sure.
There's no corporate money in San Diego, which is something a lot of people don't realize. So they weren't going to be able to get a stadium done that way. So they become a team that's going to move. Well, Kroenke goes to Los Angeles, and says, I'm willing to build it on my own. I need a tenant. The NFL says, okay. He says, I really don't want the Raiders because they'll usurp me.
Yep.
And they say, well, how about the Chargers? Fine. They were in L.A. before they were in San Diego briefly. Let's go Chargers. Let's move them up there. So they move up there. They play in a soccer stadium. Remember that in Carson? Did you ever cover a game there?
I did.
It had to be kind of cool,
there.
right?
It was cool. It's very small, intimate. We ended up losing that one. That was in the year, I think, that we went winless with Kaiser. Bosa had a big sack strip fumble at the end of the game. Travis Coons, our former kicker, made a return for the Chargers. It was actually a pretty cool environment. I enjoyed it. It was very intimate.
I actually think that would be better than where they're playing now. Almost.
It's a cool facility, though. I mean, it's not as good as Minnesota, though.
No. But I just mean, here is this team. You said 8 players in the top 100.
There's fun to watch.
They have a top 4 cool guy playing quarterback.
Totally.
Who checks every box you'd want in a franchise 100%. Quarterback.
Yep.
They have arguably the best uniform in sport, certainly in the NFL, one of the best, one of the 3 or 4 best. And yet, there's no traction in the market for them. There's very little give a damn. And you say to yourself, well, if this doesn't satisfy, what will? Like, what happens 15 years from now
when they're not like this?
When they're not like this.
Yeah, I don't know. They're awesome, and they're fun to watch. Beautiful uniforms. It's a solid.
Can you imagine these guys in Dallas?
It's a beautiful thing.
Or Philly or New York? Any other market
if
in
this
the league.
Was the New York Giants with
and
this
it looked
roster,
like this?
Yeah, like they'd be the most popular team in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, they're kind of this – they're out there. There's nobody I don't even know a diehard Chargers fan. Like, the thing is they don't even have the fans in San Diego.
They're flying under the radar.
Because they're done.
They're flying under the radar.
And every game they play is a road game.
That's it.
It's the damnedest thing.
That is crazy.
What is their what's your favorite of their uniform combos?
Powder blue top.
Mm-hmm.
I like the white pant. You can go with the gold pant. That's fine. But powder blue top, white pant on the white helmet, obviously.
It's
white
perfect.
hood.
Yeah,
that's great.
They did it. It's really amazing.
The weird one, though, that's all blue is like not quite the powder blue. It's almost like a different blue.
It's Fouts era.
I don't like that one as much.
So they have 3 blues. They've got the powder blue Allworth era. Then they've got the royal blue, which is Fouts era. And then they've got
navy,
what I like to refer to as the Stan Humphries era, the navy blue.
Antonio Gates.
I did that for you because of Steve Young's incredible victory where he got the monkey off his back by somehow defeating Stan Humphries and the incredibly
in the largest spread
San
Super Bowl
Chargers.
ever. Largest spread Super Bowl ever. It was like they were 14-point favorites or something like that in a Super Bowl.
I don't understand. I can't remember. How did they get there in '94? That Chargers team. Who would have been? There's no way they were the 1 seed. It's also one of the great Chris Berman nicknames. Natrone means business.
Natrone means business. Fantastic.
Which is very good. Seo's on that team. He's great.
Was it the 94?
94. Yeah, 94. 94 San Diego Chargers or 94 AFC playoffs.
Let's get a little Pro Football Reference on.
I mean, Pittsburgh was good at that point. Pittsburgh played in the Super Bowl in '95.
All right, so they go 11-5. They win the AFC West. And then in the postseason, they are home for Miami. They got a bye.
So they were a 2 seed probably.
Yep. So then in the divisional round, they beat Miami 22-21.
So that's Marino.
Then they go to the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh and win 17-13.
So it was Pittsburgh.
And then they go to the Super Bowl and they get blasted 49-26.
That would have been a Neil O'Donnell Pittsburgh team.
Feels about
probably
right.
in 1994.
Yeah.
Is that Jim Harbaugh quarterbacking the? No. He did that with the Colts. He had a Hail Mary to beat the Steelers once. So Stan Humphries went in there and won 17-13.
Let's go to the stats. All right. So they were led by Natrone Means ran for 1,350 yards and 12 touchdowns. By the way, it's an all nickname backfield. You had Natrone Means Business and Eric Sleeping with Bieniemy.
Sleeping with Bieniemy.
Yeah, same backfield. That was a great one.
That is a great one.
Leading receiver was a gentleman by the name of Tony Martin, had 885 yards and 7 touchdowns. Sean Jefferson had 627 and 3. And then Mark Say, Seay, had 645 and 6. Like, I don't remember any of these dudes.
No. It speaks to, I think, a little bit, this kind of buttresses a point we were talking about on Monday on the show. Listen to the names that you just mentioned and think about how talented this league is now.
Oh, yeah.
Like Stan Humphries quarterbacked a team in the Super Bowl.
And threw for 17 touchdowns, 12 picks, and 58% completion that year.
That's unreal.
Defense was led by Junior Seau. It also had Leslie O'Neal, who had 12.5 sacks, and Chris Mims had 11 sacks. So they had a pair of pass rushers that were pretty formidable. Seau had 155 tackles, 5.5 sacks, a forced fumble.
I mean, look at this human. That is a quarterback of a Super Bowl team.
Oh, my God. Yeah, the Niners. That's why they got.
I mean, he looks like a club pro.
That's why they got absolutely blasted, bro.
They did. Yeah.
Like, to compare that team that we just said out loud to.
Do it to this Chargers team.
Well, it's not
like
close.
It's not close.
But the 49ers, the 49ers team that won the Super Bowl, I mean, that team had to be.
That human.
Jeez Louise. That's wild.
I mean, he looks, in this picture here with the flat top, he looks like someone who's going to snake your drain.
It does. He does look that way.
Well, that's Dion.
Here we go.
That's all of them.
1994.
94.
San Francisco 49ers. All right, here you go. You've got
Ricky Watters.
On offense, Steve Young, Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, 70% completion, 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, 10 picks, quarterback rating 113.
How's that similar to Stan the Man?
You've got Ricky Watters, ran for 877 and 6, who had William Floyd, bar none William Floyd, who had 6 touchdowns himself. Steve Young ran for 7 touchdowns, 293. Receiving, Jerry
Big
Rice.
fantasy year for Steve Young.
Huge.
In 94. That's amazing.
Jerry Rice, first team All-Pro and Pro Bowler, 1,499 yards, 13 touchdowns. John Taylor, 531 and 5. Clearly, Steve Young didn't know how to use him like Joe did. Brent Jones, Pro Bowler. He had 49, 670, and 9, the tight end. And then your defense, you had Ken Norton Jr., Merton Hanks, Pro Bowler as a free safety, who had 7 picks that year.
Nice neck on him.
You had Eric Davis, who was very good. Tim McDonald, your other safety, was a Pro Bowler that year as well.
Former card,
yep. You had Gary Plummer and Lee Woodall. Your defensive line, Bryant Young, who just went to the Hall of Fame. Dana Stubblefield was a Pro Bowler that year, had 8.5 sacks. Deion Sanders, first team All-Pro and Pro Bowler that year, obviously, as well.
Did Deion win Defensive Player of the Year in 94?
They also had Pro Bowlers all over their line. Jesse Sapolu was a Pro Bowler. 1994 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the single best corner season I've ever seen, and I think anyone's ever seen, probably, was Deion in 94.
Deion Sanders, nicknames Primetime, Neon Deion, or Leon Sandcastle from that ad. That's funny. That's in there.
All right, very good. We'll get some perspective for Bernie Kosar coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, be sure to stop by the free Twisted Tea Tailgate pregame party prior to every home game. Twisted Tea Tailgate is located on the west side of First Energy Stadium, combines the atmosphere of a beer garden with live music, food, drink, and options. The tailgate opens 4 hours prior to kickoff and is open to fans with a ticket to the game. And now let's head out on the Twisted Tea hotline for a visit with our great friend, the legend Bernie Kosar, joining us. Boy, Bernie, we'll revisit last week and take a look at some things, but I like talking quarterbacks with you, and I'm an admirer of Justin Herbert and what he's done early in his career. We'll get a firsthand look at him last year. We'll get a firsthand look at him in our building this year. When you see him, does he remind you of anybody you played against? What are some of the traits that you like?
Well, good to be with you guys today, and I know there still may be some remnants of distaste from the outcome of the game this past Sunday, but it is an NFL Wednesday, and Wednesday is the official start of the game plan week where you officially move in, get your game plan, and move into the L.A. Chargers and stuff. And, Bo, to your question about is there a QB that Justin Herbert reminds me of, and this is high praise and stuff, but I love the way I used to throw the football and stuff, and I was proud of my accuracy. But there was a guy like Dan Marino who was a work of art throwing the ball. And when I see Justin throw the football, unfortunately, I see that beautiful, gorgeous golden arm of Dan Marino, and that gift that he has. It's almost like for a quarterback, it's almost like going and watching an artist work, the way he throws it. It's just gorgeous.
When you have
that means for this weekend, if any weekend we could get a nice windy Northeastern Ohio Cleveland Browns day with the way they are the number one passing offense in the NFL and one of the worst running offenses in the NFL, I absolutely think that would be a Cleveland Brown true home field advantage.
Bernie, when you have a quarterback who can do all of the things that Justin Herbert can do, you've got a team that's got one of the preeminent deep threats in the league in Mike Williams. You have one of the best intermediate and third down route runners in the NFL in Keenan Allen. Gerald Everett, the tight end they brought in, is on pace for a career year, like he might shatter his career best by the midway point of this season. And then you have a running back like Austin Eckler, who already has 27 catches, third most in the AFC, so they can throw it close to the line of scrimmage. They can hit you in the intermediate. They can hit you over the top. How do you slow down this offense, and what must you do to a quarterback like that to try and disrupt him?
Well, unlike last week with Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone, the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, that were almost like ourselves, a heavy physical run-first team. I like Austin Eckler as a running back for the LA Chargers, yet they are woeful in the way they're running the ball this year. They're using him phenomenally in the passing game. So last weekend we had a heavy emphasis on stopping the run. This weekend, actually, I would think we're going to want to force them into running the ball more than they probably want to. So being able to get a little pressure on Justin and being able to, with their left tackle being out, that's something that you would really love to have Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney back, being able to play and put that pressure on to be able to disrupt Justin and throw him off his rhythm.
So the other thing that's interesting about him, Bernie, is he doesn't get hit a lot. I mean, the ball's out quick. I mean, Slater was out. He didn't play last week, and now we're different, obviously, with Myles and Jadeveon, but the Texans really couldn't get near him, didn't disrupt him that much. The ball comes out so quick. What can we do in the back end? Can you do anything to confuse, give him even another half second of thought before? It seems he's so decisive, I guess. How do you counter that?
Yeah, with pressure in the face, and again, almost like Dan Marino. Dan Marino was genius in his movement within the pocket, and he was genius in his ability with the quick release and stuff. You see the same thing with Justin too, and the ability though to put that little bit of doubt in his mind, to do a little bit of disguising of the coverages, moving the fronts around a little bit, but your safeties, and I know this is somewhat a little tricky because we've been having some communication issues in the back end of our defense, but when you're able to maybe disguise a little bit and have him not be so predetermined in his pre-snap read that his pre-snap read is confirmed at the snap of it being that coverage. If you're able to maybe give him a pre-snap look and at the snap at times be able to rotate into another coverage, that for a younger quarterback may be able to, with a little bit of pressure, gets him sometimes to doubt what he's seeing, have questions in his mind. And if we're having a typical fall windy day in Cleveland, if you have a little bit of inaccuracy in your throws or you're not used to the swirling type winds, and Nathan, I unfortunately concur with you that I love Mike Williams down the field, and I love Keenan Allen in that mid-range stuff. Keenan Allen's been questionable for the game this week. I don't like to take any consolation in any players being hurt, but that'd be a nice helper if Keenan Allen isn't able to add to those weapons on the LA Chargers offense. And from the defensive perspective, with Bosa being on injured reserve, they've got Khalil Mack, but almost like the Steelers game, our ability to run the ball against anybody, I really believe in. Yet the off-tackle running that the Cleveland Browns do so well. Heck, Nick Chubb last week again, 19 carries, 118 yards, 6.2 yards a carry against the Falcons. Well, the Chargers are struggling like the Steelers were with their off-tackle defense and stuff. That's what we do so good. So that's a nice matchup. That's a nice edge to try to amplify in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's what we've got to do, right? Sometimes the best defense is an offense that possesses the ball, and I think what's frustrating for the Browns is, you're averaging over 35 minutes of possession this season, most in the NFL, and yet you sit at 2-2, and that's what we tried to do last week. We did it successfully. I imagine that'll be the formula again, right? Because as a quarterback, if you're not on the field, do you get antsy on the sideline? If it's been a while since you've gotten to be out there, if the Browns go on an 8-minute drive, a 9-minute drive, you get a 3-and-out, then they go on another 8-minute drive. Does that affect your rhythm, and is that maybe one of the ways to affect Justin Herbert?
Fantastic point, Nathan. Spot on with that. There's absolutely, for a team that struggles running the ball, for a team that is an offensive machine that wants to press the action down the field, if you're not out there, if you're not able to get into that flow, even if you get into that flow and you can't stay consistent with it, you absolutely, and especially with youth, you tend to get a little impatient, get a little anxious, want to try to do a little too much, try to score and move the ball a little too quick, and you actually hopefully sometimes compound your issue and either make a turnover or get a 3-and-out.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for there, and you're hoping to keep it away from them. When you think about one of the hot topics, of course, this week, and we can always do things once things have happened. We can look back and second guess. I mean, that's our job here, right? Is we do those things, and one of the big topics is inside the red zone, take the points, those type of things. So Brandon Staley doesn't do that with the Chargers, and some of that is he's got Herbert. I mean, they go for it on fourth. I mean, last year, Bernie, they went for it in their own end. On fourth down against us. Like he's pretty fearless with it. This feels like a game where you got to get 7 more than 3. Where do you – one thing Nathan and I talked about on Monday is there is an emotional toll of a long drive that ends in no points. Are we giving that enough credit? Where do you come down on that?
Well, for our Browns fans who debate, nor do they like all the times we go for it on fourth down, see the LA Chargers / the John Carroll Blue Streaks West in terms of Brandon Staley in the amount of times that they go for it on fourth down. They go for it third most in the NFL last year, more than we do with the Cleveland Browns. So both teams have an aggressive attitude towards going for it. As it pertains to your question, Bo, and last week's situation, yes, it is for the first. And I'm not trying to second guess coach or anybody on this, but when you're the quarterback, and I had a thing on the road where on the first drive of the game, if I had the ball first, I wanted to get off the snide. I wanted to get any points on the board. I want my touchdowns as best possible most all the time. But on that first drive to to go all the way down and to go up 3-0. 7-0's optimal, but to be able to go up 3-0 at least is something that I always wanted to do, old school or new school in that. When it came down to, and to your point, yes, that tends to be discouraging to you as the offense and to the team, but more so, it makes that on the first drive, it makes the home team fired up that they stopped you, and now the offense comes out with a little bit of purpose as opposed to maybe the fans that are sitting back in their seat down 3-0. But in terms of it in the course of the game, I tend to want to go for it more times than not. But early in the game like that, I think it's imperative to settle everybody down like that.
Yeah, and that does make sense. Now, when you're at home in a game like this where it's going to be a shootout or an expected shootout, you know that they're the number one passing offense. They've also given up 27 a game. Is this a game where you feel like it's probably going to be more aggressive again and people should just kind of get their heads around that we're looking for sevens here? And this is one of the things that I was trying to convey to somebody is if you go down to the goal line area 7 times, if you kick the field goal all 7 times, you only have to score 3 out of 7. Which is under 50% to get the same number of points. You go 4 out of 7 in terms of scoring touchdowns, and guess what? Now you've exceeded that significantly, right? 28-21. So that, I think, is a lot of the thinking behind it. But do you think that this is a game where you would be aggressive, even just knowing Justin Herbert and Eckler and Williams and Allen, if he plays, are on the other side?
Yes, it's absolutely. I tend to want to be more aggressive with Justin and the Chargers on the other side. But that being said, there's also a strategic percentage, and to me, my version of analytics that I like to contemplate with those. That's a hypothetical scenario, 7 trips inside the red zone, because like 2-point plays from the 2-yard line, so 4th and 2, 2-point plays. Basically, it's 48% success rate, so a little bit less than half. But basically, 1 out of 2 from 4th and 2 2-point plays is the statistics for it. We are so awesome at our 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. So anything less than 2, I'm pretty positive to being really aggressive on. What I struggled with from 4th and 4 the other day is statistically that's a tough one for us quarterbacks. When I was young, I wanted to act cool. Like I loved throwing the ball from the 4 and 5 yard line in on 3rd and 4th down. That's statistically a challenging time because we are a running team. It really takes the run out of play from about the 4, and you statistically get down to about a 30% chance of success. So if the analytics match up and it's a realistic 3rd and 4th down, because boy, running over Posick, Teller, and Joel Petonio with Jacoby Brissett, that's almost 95 to 100% on 1 and less than 1. So those are the kind of scenarios I also try to wrap into my analysis when I'm going through a decision like that.
And how difficult is it for a quarterback in that scenario? Because not only does everybody know that it's 4th down, but you don't have the ability to stress them vertically because you've got 14 yards of field to work with.
Exactly. So that's why I like going for it at the maybe 1-2 yard line. The 4, 5, 6 yard line exponentially increases the chances of it being that much more challenging.
Bernie, we started this talking about elite quarterback play in Justin Herbert, and we talked a little bit about Dan Marino in the comparison, and that's kind of the one I was thinking, but when you say it, it validates all of it. I wanted to go back historically with you and the Chargers and some of those matchups you had with Dan Fouts towards the end of his career, towards the beginning of yours. There's one here, you went 47-17 back in 1986. What was that like? What was Fouts like as a player? What was he like to go up against?
Wow, Bo, thanks. I've got goosebumps here as you're talking. What an awesome honor to be a young kid going up against Dan Fouts, and then a couple of years later, the great Junior Seau, being able to play against him and And actually, in one of those games, I had my career longest NFL run. I ran for 22 yards against a 2 deep, 5 under man.
Let's go.
That looked like Moses,
like a gazelle.
Yeah, Moses was parting the Red Sea for me there. A real athlete would have got 40 yards of the touchdown. I slowed it down to 20 for Junior to dive on top of me. So those type of moments where the seriousness, the love of the game, of wanting to play. Fortunately, we were up a lot of points then, so I was able to laugh on the ground as Junior was rolling my face into the mud with that. I can't, and because it's a family show and school's about to get off, I can't say exactly some of the quotes he said to me, but I was pretty festive, but yet winded. I don't think I'd ever run 20 yards before.
That's great. Bernie, thanks, buddy. Great talking to you as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. You matter. Go Browns.
All right, the great Bernie Kosar. And be part of one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance at securing tickets for all home games and future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. Jacoby Brissett at the podium coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Cleveland,
OBM, the official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns swing, you can always depend on OBM because we can tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or ohiobusinessmachines.com. And now here's your quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, at the podium.
All right, you guys are down. This is 8.5.
Score touchdowns. I think that's the when we went back and looked and just our attention to detail and focus in the red zone. That was very uncharacteristic of us. So just honing back in and focusing on our details of each play, and we'll get the results we want.
Jacoby, other than not throwing the interception, what should you have done differently on that last play?
Not throwing into that guy.
Right. I'm saying,
Anything else would have been better than that.
I mean, did you look when you looked at the film? Did you see other options that would have been a better decision?
Anything would have been, like I said, any throw would have been better than that one. So just being better in those situations.
Jacoby, not to beat a dead horse, but it seems like Kevin has taken so much heat for that 4th and 3 from the 4 on the first drive, and he mentioned that you kind of were just going for David there, and the ball got away from you a little bit. Can you take us through what?
Which play?
It's first series. The first series, the 4th and 3.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Can you just kind of take us through the thinking there, just so we can kind of put a bow on that hole?
I just think that's what it was. And it was just a bad job by myself. And like when I said earlier, just honing in on the details and kind of made a bad decision from the start of the play that caused that. So just be better.
And what can you share what that might have been?
I won't, because I don't want the other team to do that same thing. So.
Hey, you guys went hurry up on 3rd down. Was that the first time in that drive that you did?
Hurry up on that play?
Yeah, on the 3rd down play.
Yeah, that was our first hurry up on that series. Yeah.
Is that tougher to do when you get to the goal? I mean, it's kind of a rush thing, Is it?
Not necessarily, because when you get them in the looks that you want, it's. I mean, we almost had it, and we get a look where Chubb's on one guy, and the guy made a good play. So I don't think it's tough. I mean, it's part of our game because we've gone for on the ball fast in certain situations and have converted them. So we're just hoping the same thing.
And Kevin said they hadn't been in goal line all year.
Yeah.
Is that tricky then when you haven't seen a team and know their tendencies?
Yeah, and that's just something that you really can't account for. It's just something that happens in the flow of the game. And I think as a collective group, we just looked at it and said, hey, like, we have to be prepared more for these type of situations and make sure we make sure we're on the same page.
Jacoby, when you look at the stat sheet and you see that Amari only had 1 catch for 9 yards on 4 targets, can you sort of describe what they were doing to take him out, and what kind of how does that happen?
I think a couple of them I just missed them, honestly, and got to do a better job of trusting my eyes, and I think that's pretty much it.
How important is it to get a star like Amari super involved in the game?
I think it's critical. I mean, we understand that. Teams understand that. But it obviously didn't want it to work out that way. But it did, and it's a great learning tool for us at my position and his position, and obviously Kev's who's calling the plays. But it's just something that we understand is something that we have to do is find ways to get them involved. But like again, I said, I just missed them a couple times.
It's so the red zone that's so congested in their throw and run plays, it seems. And with the running game here, the way it is, might be a better alternative. Just concentrate on running the ball.
I mean, we could play that game all day. Is which one is better? But I thought we had good plays down there. It's just about execution and focusing in on the details.
In terms of Amari wasn't necessarily able to get as involved as you wanted him to, but you spread it around a little bit more. You had some success, with David, with Donovan. How important is that too, to kind of just get other people?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's just such a critical part of our offense. Is when everybody touches the ball, we do well. And a lot of Amari didn't get what we say is the correct number of touches, I would say, but a lot of guys stepped up and made a lot of plays. Both Davis made a lot of plays, Donovan made a lot of plays, our backs made a lot of plays in the past game. So just finding ways to get everybody involved and making a conscious effort to make the right decisions.
I have one more question about that last drive. Were you guys thinking that you needed a touchdown, that a field goal.
No, we only needed a field goal.
So that was a,
yeah.
Jacoby, you mentioned the two David, but specifically David Bell. How have you seen him get more comfortable as this season's gone on?
Yeah, I think he's been doing a good job of taking the coaching from the meeting room to the field, and it's paying off dividends in the games and critical situations. Some of the big catches that he made in that game, it's exciting to see his growth becoming more and more clear each game, and just looking forward to that throughout the season.
How about the Chargers defense? Without Bosa, does that help the line concentrate on Khalil Mack?
I still think they have a really good defense. Obviously, he's one of their better players, but I think those guys still play really well, play really hard. It's a system that those guys know very well, so we got a tough task.
I know the red zone stuff is frustrating, but when you have Chubb and Hunt, though, is it even more frustrating? I mean, Nick was really rolling in his homecoming game.
It's just frustrating. You just want to score touchdowns. And we always say we don't care who scores for us. It's just we just want to put the ball in the end zone. And, we just got to be better in those situations.
Jacoby, when did you realize you were so good at quarterback sneaks?
A long time ago, I guess. It's just part of my game, I guess. I don't know. You just go get a yard or something.
I mean, when that call comes in on fourth down, do you feel like it's almost automatic? Like, what goes into that?
For the most part, I was just telling myself to go get it. The guys up front do a really good job of getting surge and just finding the cracks. And then, we only need to get one, so I'm 6'4", so I'll get 1 yard laying down. So.
What do you see from this Chargers defense?
Really good defense. Like I said, they know this system very well. Put a lot of guys in different spots, and they all understand the rules of their defense. Very, very, very tough. Obviously, have known to be a really good defense, and we got our hands full this week.
They're starting to get some interceptions. It looks like you have to be really careful of James and some of those guys coming over the middle, right?
Yeah, I think they got a lot of ball hawks on their in their secondary, including their linebackers. A lot of guys that can make plays on the ball. So obviously being good on my part and making
1 minute
and making sure I'm not putting the team in the offense in harm's way.
You're going into a stretch now where you're going to be facing some pretty prolific offenses in quarterbacks. Is that something that's in the back of your mind, knowing that you guys might have to not only be better, but at least keep pace with that level of scoring?
No, obviously the mindset is to be better, just to be better. Each week is a week that we get a chance to go out there and perform better than we did the week before. We're not playing against their offense, we're playing against their defense. So we just got to go out and execute, do our job, and focus on that. I think that'll be more than enough to worry about.
30.
Does the shootout that it turned into last year inform anything that could possibly happen in this game? Are you guys expecting it?
I have no idea yet. Whatever the game needs, I'm sure we got the guys on this team and prepared to do whatever
10.
Win, and that's the mindset going into this one.
Is this quarterback sneak thing, were you even good in college doing that?
Yeah, but I don't remember doing it that much in college, so I don't know.
You're up.
For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. AP, join us next. We'll do a little better or worse. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Authority gives you that bathroom of your dreams. You can transform your current bath into a custom bath for a spa-like experience, again, in about a day. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler. They're experts. They're factory trained. You give you $500 off right now if you give them a call at 216-220-8399. They will take care of you. Tell them Bo sent you. BathAuthority.com. Affordability and quality all in one. Largest selection of bath projects in the area. They're all made right here in America. Check them out. You will not be disappointed that you did. Superior products at expert installers at thebathauthority.com. Our staff writer, Anthony Poisel, joins us here in studio for a little game we like to call Better or Worse. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be back on.
Yeah,
This is one of my favorite times of the week. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's always exciting when we do a little bit of Better or Worse, and so let's get it started. All right, the Browns come in. We are 18. Like, that's just it. We're 17, we're 18, we're 19, we're 20. Like, that's just it.
I haven't shuffled around.
There's no.
If we'd handled our business, we'd have to be like top 5.
We were
4-0.
13. 4-0, we'd be 13. Who have they beat?
I think we'd be 10 if we were like 4-0.
If we were undefeated, they would put us in the top 8, the top quartile of the league.
Of course.
We're 4-0. But we're not.
Yes, we're 2-2. We're 2-2. So they sit there at number 18. Apparently, in this particular one, see, we don't use the same one every time. So it kind of
fluctuates.
It moves. So apparently, in this one last week, we were up all the way to 11. But I think we did Dan Hansis last week.
Yeah.
And he had us around this neck of the woods.
Right.
So he had us where we are. On the ESPN one, we are down from 11. We are 18. Are we better or worse than number 11 or number 18? Segura.
We should be. But, I mean, we've blown 2 games. We've lost to the Jets and the Falcons. So
that's right.
We're in the middle of the pack, and that feels like a very middle-of-the-pack ranking.
Yeah, I would actually say a little bit lower, and that's just because when I look at the teams that are behind us right now, teams that have quarterbacks that are playing really well right now, or teams that have quarterbacks that can play really well, like the Raiders, Cardinals, Seahawks, those are all teams that are behind us on this list, and I'm not very confident that this team would be able to beat them just with the struggles they've had in the fourth quarter.
Such a hater.
I mean, right out of the gates. You're not confident we can beat the Seahawks?
You don't think we can beat the Seahawks?
Geno Smith has been playing out of his mind these
the
first 4 games.
It's the worst defense in the league. They got smoked by the Falcons at home.
The Seahawks is iffy, okay, but the Cardinals and Raiders, I'm not fully confident about that. And then
Cardinals stink.
I think they stink too.
Did you watch any of that? Did you see any of that game?
I didn't see
it. It was an
of it.
abomination.
Yeah,
it was like really one of the worst football games I've ever seen. However, though,
how
can we be ranked ahead of the Falcons? Though, how can we be ranked ahead of the Falcons?
Yeah.
They just
how
beat
could
us.
you? Can you imagine like those two guys played on some of the most dynamic offenses in college football history in back-to-back years? Baker and Kyler. They won the Heisman in back-to-back years, and they played on Sunday. And it was brutal.
There's hope for the Cardinals, though. When they get
none.
DeAndre Hopkins back,
yeah, there's none in Carolina.
There is no hope in Carolina.
No. Next.
Come on, boys. I'll have a little faith.
Better or worse, the Eagles come in on the ESPN list at number 3. The Eagles at number 3, Poisel.
I think higher here, and I'm going by 1. I'd have the top 3 as in this order: Bills, Eagles, and Chiefs. I think Philly is still just a better overall team than the Chiefs, and the only undefeated team left in the league. Obviously, deserves to be in the top 2, in my opinion.
I like it. I think it's just right. I think that if there was a game played today between them and the Chiefs or them and the Bills, they would be underdogs. I don't know if that would be true against anybody else.
Yeah. So you got the Packers. Yeah, you're exactly right on the 100%. Oh, my God, there's one here that's coming up. I don't even know if this is – yeah, it is on the list. The Chiefs are the best team in football. They're the best team in football right now. The Bills have real injuries in the secondary. The Chiefs have the crazy loss to the Colts where if Kelsey doesn't have the drop, he win that game.
Sure.
That's it. Other than that, they beat everybody they played. They've beaten the Bucs. They beat the Chargers at full strength. That's the best squad in football to me.
So what do you have against the Eagles then? I'm just curious.
I don't have anything against them. I just am not buying all in on Hurts versus Mahomes.
Okay.
And if you say to me, all right, you got to risk your 3 lovely boys' future in college education on one team,
you'd be picking.
Give me that one over the one with Jalen Hurts. That's why.
He's playing very well.
He is.
But
he's on Mahomes.
I think he's
Mahomes
the third.
Is a cyborg.
He's the 3rd best. I think they're the 3rd best team in the league.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Next.
Higher or lower?
So loud.
The first one I didn't hear at all, and then that one just bombed.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? The variable on it is stunning.
High
I'm doing my best.
Oh, my gosh, Madison. Do we have?
sorry.
Is the traveling music playing? I'm not even sure what's going
We're
on
having
here.
issues playing like two sounds
Shocker.
at once here.
Ah.
So there's where the problem's happening.
Okay, then let's do this. Forget the sounder. I'll do
traveling
the
music.
next. I'll do the next,
Okay.
and we'll just do traveling music. All right.
I got you.
Better or worse, the Los Angeles Rams are 6.
They're 6.
What?
They're awful.
That was what I was most appalled by. On all the teams on this list, most appalled by the Rams at 6.
And the Niners at 12, and the Niners just smoked them.
Exactly.
What are we
that
doing,
makes no
man?
sense. Yeah. No sense.
This list is hot garbage. It's awful. It's an awful list.
I mean, I'm trying to think, all right, where would I actually put the Rams? Probably like around 15.
Yeah, I was thinking 10-15 range. Throw them anywhere in there. I think that's fine. They were. I mean, there was no point what was it, the Monday night game, right? There was no point where it looked like they were a competent team that deserves to be in the top 10.
They can only throw it to Cooper Kupp. They can't run it.
Yeah.
They can't protect Stafford. He's getting
At all.
bludgeoned.
Beaten.
Yep.
It's like Lions days for him again all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The idea that they're 6 is laughable, man.
It is
laughable.
Like, what's it going to take for them to get lower on this list? I feel like every week we've seen the Rams near the top of these lists, and it's just like, what is it going to take for them to get lower?
I don't understand.
They're the defending Super Bowl champions, and they've got like Ramsey and Donald and Stafford, and people are like, oh my goodness, they're bad at football. We said this after the first game. They're bad. They're not good.
For sure. All right, I'm going to.
They need Odell back.
They do, but I mean, he's still a month away.
Feels
right?
that way. He just keeps talking about all the people he wants to play for.
He loves it.
He loves it. Yeah.
Good for him.
It is good.
Go ahead.
I
Nate.
love Odell. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do the sound effect myself, and my calling for the sound effect. Next,
Better or worse?
I think it actually happened as well.
That was amazing. We
Right
had
on
a better
I
or
was
worse?
very on
Yeah.
cue.
Yeah, it was right on
When
time.
did we get a
Connor's
better or
like-
worse?
I don't know, but that's
That's
what it just
amazing.
said.
It did just say that. All right,
I like it.
Better or worse?
unbelievable.
Yeah, as it should be.
As it should
Finally.
be. Are the Vikings better or worse than number 7, AP?
I'm still going to go worse, but not by a whole lot. I think I'd still pick these are teams that are behind them, the Bucks, Ravens, and even the Bengals, I think, to beat them. I'm not sure Kirk Cousins will be able to kind of keep things up for them in the pass game. I know Justin Jefferson's good, but he kind of feels like what we were talking about with Cooper Kupp just a minute ago. He's kind of their only weapon right now. Adam Thielen hasn't really been producing a whole lot. I just don't know if this is sustainable for the Vikings.
They're fun. They're
They
a
are
fun
fun,
offense.
yeah.
When they're cooking, it's really fun. And Thielen last week was good against the Saints. Dalvin's been banged up, but Madison, that's a good 1-2 punch. Jefferson's great. They just shut it down half the time, which I don't understand. It's like they're playing great. Like they should have smoked the Saints last week, and then they didn't. But they're not beating the Ravens or the Bengals or the Bucks or the Chargers, I don't think, for that matter.
throw the Chargers in there, too.
They're
Yeah.
worse. They're a team that I think has a chance to. They're going to make the playoffs, is barring a disastrous injury. But they're not a team of great consequence.
It breaks my heart. My man Dan Campbell just blew it with the Lions. Just blew it because his offense is good enough.
Good enough.
Clearly.
He can't.
It's a
defend.
historically
It's just-
bad defense.
I want the Lions to be on more primetime games. Like they
we
would
need
be a
more of
fun team to be on.
Once they
prime
get Jamison Williams back,
they're a circus act, man.
It's going to be unreal.
Better or worse?
Yeah.
The Cowboys, are they better or worse than number 11 in the league?
All right, I just have to look this up real quick. Who have they beaten in this Cooper Rush period?
Beat the Giants.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 weeks ago.
Not impressed.
I was looking at this earlier.
And I know they're 3-1. All right, so they have beaten.
They haven't beaten
Murderers Row.
They beat the Bengals 2017, which was a surprise.
Yep.
They beat the Giants, and then they beat the Commies, who are dreadful. They get the Rams this week. Look, I feel like the Rams should beat them, but will they? I don't know. And then they get the Eagles. If they go 2-0 here, I'll be blown away. My guess is they're going to end up going 0-2, and so they are not better. I mean, Cooper Rush, he's been very efficient.
I mean, if Dak comes back 2 weeks from now, they're playing the Eagles. That's the second game, right? The Eagles.
The second. Yeah,
I don't.
that's Sunday
Okay,
Night
I don't
Football.
think with Dak they're still going to.
If they lose to the Rams, is that really even a discussion? If they beat the Rams, do they even think of not bringing Dak back? No way.
No way. No chance.
No.
Yeah.
Jerry monkeyed around with that earlier in
No.
last month. He was talking about that a little bit.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah. They're not better than the 49ers.
No.
Or the Chargers.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What is this ESPN?
I still said I think
It's
it's just
awful.
right for the Cowboys right now, but
It's awful.
We're gonna know these next 2 games. For them.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
Better or worse?
All right, who's better or worse right now? I'm going off script. Bengals or Chargers? Bengals or Chargers? Who's better right now as constructed AP?
I'm gonna say the Bengals, and I just think that they're not as injury banged up right now. And I just like their receiving core and what they have with Joe Burrow. I think they're gonna keep connecting and building soon. So I would say the Bengals right now. Sorry.
I think it's pretty even. Honestly,
that's what I'm saying. I
think it's a pretty even one. Like if I had to, I think I'd probably take the Bengals just because it feels like the Chargers don't win those kind of big games. But no Bosa, no Slater. The fact is, the Bengals still can't protect Burrow. He doesn't look quite as good as he has in the past.
No, he's not as sharp.
And they cannot run the ball. Neither can the Chargers. I think the Chargers have more playmakers on their defense right now than the Bengals.
The Bengals are really solid defensively.
Derwin
you're right.
James,
it's not a
J.C.
game-wrecking.
Jackson,
It's not
Asante
game-wrecking.
Samuel.
I mean, I would take the Chargers defense over the Bengals defense for sure. But.
Yeah, and I think they match up kind of well with them.
I think the Bengals defense right now is better than the Chargers defense. I just think that the Chargers have more talent.
They have more talent, yes.
So, wouldn't that mean the Chargers are going to eventually?
Well, you hope, but I mean, the operation isn't working right now.
Not having Bosa's big.
Yeah,
it's a big loss.
You
for
had
them.
Bosa and Mac.
Yeah, the Bengals are playing pretty good.
Remember, they didn't have J.C. Jackson was injured earlier, so he's just getting back into it.
Yeah. All right, here's let's go down all the way to the 20. Oh, next.
Better or worse?
Vegas Raiders 22 on this list. They were 30 on this list last week at 0-3,
which is absurd.
Which is a joke.
It's a stupid. It's a ridiculous ranking.
So here's let's do three of these at once. Vegas Raiders 22. You guys rank them better to worse. Vegas Raiders 22. Lions are 25. Colts are 26. 1, 2, 3. Those for me.
Vegas, Colts,
Lions. That order.
I would go Vegas, Lions, Colts still.
Without Jonathan Taylor, sure.
I know the Lions defense has been atrocious.
Anybody.
But the Colts have still. I mean, what have they shown this year that makes
they beat the Chiefs?
Okay, that's right. I apologize.
That's it, though. But that's it.
But that's it.
That's the end of the list.
But I think the Lions eventually are going to have a game, maybe not necessarily beating the Chiefs, but they're going to have a game like that where it's like this is a game that really they shouldn't win, and they manage to pull it together.
I'd certainly much rather watch the Lions than the Colts.
Like, I'm saying they need more primetime games. I know it's not.
They're a fun team.
So I often will say, next.
Better or worse?
All right, Bears come in at 28 on this. Steelers 29. Commies are 30. Panthers are 31. Houston is 32. Better to worst, those five. Bears, Steelers, Commies, Panthers, Texans.
Steelers are still the best.
Yep.
Then I would go with...
That's bad.
I think
the Commies.
Commies
you put
and Bears.
over the Bears? I think I'd put the Bears as the on the second.
Throw the ball.
But
didn't the Texans beat the Bears? Or the Bears beat
Bears
the Texans?
are 2-2.
They beat the Texans.
They beat the Texans and the 49ers in the slop.
They win ugly when they win, but
yeah, they
That's
don't
the
beat
only
the
way
Niners.
they
They don't beat the
all
Niners
these
under
teams win
any
ugly.
other circumstance in Week 1.
I think you have it right on the question is Commies or Bears, and then it's Panthers. The bottom
Panthers
is
are the
clearly
worst.
Panthers
I think the
and
Panthers
Texans.
are the worst.
Panthers
man.
are the worst
That's
team in the league.
Yeah,
it's gross.
I agree. That's the way I'd put it too. I don't have a whole lot to add there. Baker was. Oof. I don't know.
It's brutal.
I don't know how much you guys have talked about it.
What do you have? Not much. Not on the team. What do you have for us to look forward to this week?
Well, we got to see how the defense kind of gets it act together on Sunday.
Hopefully they're healthy.
Yeah. Are you talking content-wise or what I'm looking for for the game?
Tell the people where they can get all the stuff you're doing.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Tell them. You got some stuff to look forward to.
Absolutely. ClevelandBrowns.com. We have a couple big players coming back today, as I'm sure you guys have already discussed, with Greedy and Miles. So we'll just kind of continue to follow how they're doing throughout the week. Obviously, two guys that would be a really big boost to the defense. Hopefully, we can get Jadeveon back at some point too.
That would be helpful.
Yeah, but that's really the biggest thing I'm focusing on right now is just when are they going to be able to come back and hopefully provide a big jolt to a defense that really needs one right now.
Needs it.
AP, good job out of you.
Yes, tremendous.
We'll talk to you next week. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Catch the Browns preview show tonight at 7, University Hospital's Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Corey Bjorquez joins the voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan, and Ken Carman and Gerard on the show tonight. You have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice. I got to head down to the team shop after this. I got a birthday coming up. Not on.
What are you going to get?
Well, I don't think they're possibly that she pulled them early from school.
If they're listening?
I wouldn't think.
No.
Yeah. Beamsy.
You could do it
on Friday.
You could do it in Pig Latin.
I don't remember how to do that.
You just put you take the
What was
first
it? You
letter
took
away.
the vowel
So
and
if you're going to get a
put
wet shirt, say.
It's like,
an
I don't
hoodie-
understand what
hoodie
you're
hay.
saying. And yes,
That'd be a hoodie.
was that Wedding Crashers when he tried doing
It was
it?
like,
He
yeah,
goes, I don't
yeah,
understand what
yeah.
you're saying. Aiden Yase.
Right.
Was it Wedding
Yeah.
Crashers?
1 minute.
I don't think it was
Or
Wedding
was it-
Crashers, but it's Pig Latin, yeah. That's what it is.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, no. It's Made. It's Made.
Made.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he's with Favreau and he's trying to talk.
I don't
Pig
understand.
Latin Favreau.
Yeah.
Get it? He doesn't. I don't know what that means.
I love it.
So good. All right. Enjoy your first Friday, kids. Gorgeous day out there. If you get outside, get out there and live a little bit. We'll be back tomorrow. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850, ESPN Cleveland.